Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Defining Discipline podcast. This is episode 344, as well as day 344 of my journey. At the beginning of the year, I challenged myself to run 365 days in a row, all outside, bearing the elements, whatever they may bring. I also challenged myself to run 1,500 miles within this time frame, and to run two major races also within this yearly time frame. One of those races being a 50K ultra marathon trail race. That one being the Yankee Springs 50K trail race out in Middleville, Michigan. That was on day 156 of my journey, June 5th. I was able to run that 31-mile race within 7 hours, 15 minutes, and 22 seconds. That was a personal record for me. The next race that came up within this yearly time frame was just a regular normal marathon. That was the Detroit Free Press Marathon on day 290 of my journey. Was able to run that race within 3 hours, 57 minutes, and 28 seconds. That was also a personal record for me, so was very excited about both of those races. Now we're here on day 344. So clearly I was able to keep the running streak alive after both of those big races. And we're here 344 days into the year, and we're going to break down today's mileage, weekly mileage, monthly, as well as yearly mileage to give you the quick update of where we're at. So for the day today, got out there and put in 3.5 miles, which I probably shouldn't have done, but I did because I've been falling behind so much this month. So put in 3.5 miles for the day today. That put me at 10.4 miles for the week, which put me at 31.3 miles for the month, which put me at 1,606.6 miles for the year. So we're 106.6 miles over the yearly goal that I had set for myself of 1,500 miles. The original goal at the beginning of the year was 1,250. We surpassed that in the towards the middle of the year, so we pumped it up to 1,500. Now we have surpassed that. So very excited and stoked about both of those. But now don't really have a official yearly goal where I want to end, but we're just gonna see where we end up. Kind of hoping for right around 1,700. Originally wanted 1,750, but I'm dealing with the left foot injury on the tendon, so don't think I'll be able to pump out that many miles. Already kind of fallen behind with really lowering the miles this past week to try to take care of that injury. So maybe we'll get to 1,700. Who knows? But I do want to focus in on the monthly miles of 31.3 miles for the month. That is because every single month I challenge myself to run a 100-mile challenge, and I do it in honor of a charity in which I donate money to, as well as I start a coinciding fundraiser to try to raise money and awareness for. So for the first 11 months of the year, we raised money for 11 great charities. Now we're here within the 12th month, and we're raising money for yet another great charity. That charity being St. Jude Children's Hospital. So if you would like to donate to this month's charity, you can find the link to do so on the Defining Discipline Instagram story or the Defining Discipline Facebook story, or my personal page's Instagram story, or my personal page's Facebook story. Within any of those stories, you click on the link and it'll open up the actual page where you're able to make your donations. Keep in mind that all donations that get made go directly to this cause. Facebook is not taking or keeping any portion or percentage of your donations. So that is one thing to keep in mind. Other than that, I do know times are tough and not everyone can afford to donate. If that is the case, click on that share button because we are trying to raise awareness for this cause throughout this month. Now that we've gone through that and we've talked about the day, the week, the month, and the yearly mileage, we can kind of get ready to get into today's actual episode. Um, but right before we always do so, we're going to go over today's word of the day. Today's word of the day is palisade. Palisade refers to a fence of stakes used for defense or to a line of steep cliffs. Palisade. That is today's word of the day for December 10th. Now we're going to get into today's actual episode. Excuse me, guys. 344. Day 344. Today's theme for today's episode is going to be tendencies. And wanted to touch on that because we all have our own tendencies. And we all fall victim to our own tendencies. We all just kind of fall into it. They're kind of like our habits. They're they're our behaviors. So it wasn't until I really tried to analyze my own tendencies. Why do I keep? What are things I continuously do, and why do I repeat doing them? What is triggering me to continuously go down this route? Why am I having this tendency to always fall victim of this certain situation, whatever the case may be? So it wasn't until really sitting back and analyzing, why I had these tendencies. In doing so, I was able to kind of pick through them which ones I felt were benefiting me and which ones were actually holding me back. And in doing so, kind of giving the pros and cons of the different tendencies, being able to siphon them out, I'm able to kind of make room for other more positive tendencies as well by shipping out the ones that I think are kind of holding me back. So that's kind of what I've done and have been trying to do over the past couple years. And tendencies aren't always easy to spot sometimes. Sometimes they can be hidden. Sometimes it's hard to really understand why you do certain things the way you do them. So it is kind of an everyday process. Like most of the things I like to talk about on here, this isn't just, work on it 1 week, get it figured out, and then you're set for life. This is something that takes continuous work, always over and over and over again, to keep coming back and checking and rechecking and rechecking and working and putting in enough time to really focus in on fixing those problems. So, one thing I can talk about, drinking. I never had a huge, crazy problem with drinking, but one tendency I always have when drinking is, one, I always end up doing something stupid. Two, one other tendency I always have is I just don't ever really have that shut off. And not that like I drink so much where I go out and I black out, or I drink so much and I go out and I fight people. I have done both of those, but that's not what I mean by I don't have that shut off. It's just I'll always overdo it. I'll always just drink a little bit too much, and the next day I'm always hungover. And for the longest time when I was a lot younger, I know just because I was younger, my body could handle it a lot more. I just never dealt with a lot of hangovers, and I'll have the tendency of getting 1 or 2 beers in me, getting that good feeling, and then just kind of binge drinking. And I don't drink often, so when I do drink, I go heavy with it. So that is one tendency I have noticed. I don't have that shut off. When I'm doing something, especially drinking, I can't turn it off. And that's kind of a tendency that one really reflects on my drinking, but it kind of bleeds over a little bit into other aspects of my life. I've noticed, with me really needing to slow down, really needing to kind of nurse my foot here, going out here this whole entire week and putting in 1.5 miles. having this set in my head that I wanted to kind of really pump out these last 2 months with some good miles, having it set in my head that like I don't know why I'm running every single day in a row, but when I go out there and I run 1.5 miles for like a week straight every day, I feel like I'm cheating, and it sounds so weird, but it doesn't feel like enough for me. So I've been putting in so many miles that it's like I have the tendency to want more, to want more, to want more, and especially within this week where it's like I really need to focus, not even this week, I guess just this month and forward until my foot feels right. Um, I really need to focus in on kind of holding back and not going too hard and not putting in too much work and not overdoing it, um, which I have, again, the tendency to do. Um, Gave you the example with drinking. So, one way I kind of solved the drinking problem is I just don't drink as much. I try to really avoid drinking on all costs. And it's not that, again, I have a problem where I can't turn it off. I just um, don't want to feel like crap the next day, which most of the time happens if I drink, because again, I don't have that switch where it's like, all right, enough is enough. I'm good buzzed here, so it's like, oh, I want to take it a little bit farther until it's that point where it's like, oh, I took it too far. So that's one tendency I had, and one way to work on it. For the longest time, I kept telling myself, well, I'll figure out how to control it, so I can still drink. One way to work on it, and the easiest way to solve that problem, was just not drink as much, just not really drink at all, just try to cut it out completely, and that's helped tremendously in a whole bunch of different aspects of my life. And not saying, again, I'm not anti drinking at all. I just think that it can definitely take over a little bit too much of your time and of the things you want to do. I was always looking forward to, where am I drinking this weekend? Where am I partying this weekend? Who are we partying with? And there's nothing wrong with celebrating with friends, but when you're becoming and getting older and older and older, and you're still looking for that house party, um, I just, that's the way I look at it, at least. So you do whatever you want, but in my opinion, I needed to kind of take my life a little bit more seriously, and the best way to do that was just to kind of try to leave the alcohol behind as much as possible. So that is what I did, and try to refocus my life. And again, these are all tendencies, and I know my certain kind of tendencies I have. And again, I have that tendency to really push it, and I have that tendency to have kind of an addictive behavior with certain things. So, knowing that, that was another thing I kind of sat back and kind of analyzed with my tendencies, knowing I have an addictive behavior, knowing the addictive things I was doing that were unhealthy and bad for me, and figured, hey, what's the best way I can kind of flip that and do something that is going to actually benefit me? And, deciding, hey, I have this addictive behavior, let me start running. And running, again, I want to emphasize, is not something that I go out there every single day and I'm like, this is awesome, this is fun, like, yay. Like, it's not like something that is always exciting, but it definitely fills a huge void within um, that spot in my life where I want to do things that you know aren't beneficial, like drinking. Kind of replacing all that free time I had, kind of wasting, just kind of drinking away, and kind of just shrinking my liver. I kind of reversed it. It was like, let's kind of put a little bit more time into focusing on improving my body, and all the free time I have, let's focus in on exercising, and getting things back into order and into shape. So that's kind of what I did, and I kind of used my tendency to an advantage of trying to transfer it into another thing. So we all have different tendencies, we all have different behaviors that kind of you know push us towards a certain direction. And once you really start to go in there and analyze all your tendencies and the things that you do, it's when you're again able to kind of separate the good from the bad, and then you can really start pushing out and weeding out the bad and start replacing them with different good ones that you could again kind of just replace, kind of plug and play. Like, oh, the tendency, for my example, my tendency is to have an addictive behavior. Okay, well, let's take something that your addictive behavior towards a negative thing, like drinking a lot or trying to drink every weekend or party every weekend. Let's take that out and let's focus in on replacing it with running. It's still something that's that can become can become addicting. Sorry guys for the little stumble there. So, and again, to emphasize on the running, it wasn't and it isn't always fun. Um, so that was kind of a hard challenge to replace something that was fun with something that sometimes you go out there and you don't even want to get out there and run. You kind of dread it. There's been plenty of days this year where I have done that, but getting out there and getting back, I feel so much better. I feel so much more. Um, uh, I just feel great that I pushed myself to go out there, especially when I didn't want to do it, get some work done, get back, and I just feel like I really overcame a lot of things that kind of hold me back on a day-to-day basis. It's kind of strengthened my mind to really, um, persevere within certain moments of my life. So, again, focusing on running and trying to make that my healthy lifestyle and my healthy tendency, my healthy addiction, trying to replace those other kind of tendencies within my life. That is kind of the example I'm giving you. So for your daily discipline today, it is actually to kind of analyze your tendencies. What kind of tendencies do you have? Which ones are positive? Which ones are helping you progress within your life? Which ones are kind of holding you back or are actually setting you back, not even holding you back, but actually putting you farther back than where you need to be. So kind of think about and figure out what tendencies you have, which directions they are setting you, and try to weed out the bad tendencies and replace them with a better, uh, healthier option to um, whatever tendency you had that was kind of a negative one. That is your daily discipline for the day today. Other than that, I want to thank you guys so much for following along and listening to the Defining Discipline podcast. This is episode 344. I am your host, Scott. This is day 344 of my journey as I challenge myself to run every single day this year, no matter what the weather may be, doing it all outside. So it's crazy to be this far along within the year, but here we are. So thank you guys so much for following along and listening. If you guys can, please give this podcast a like, a subscribe, a follow, and a share on our Facebook, our TikTok, our Instagram, our YouTube, and whatever other podcast streaming platform you have been following along and listening on. Other than that, I will see you guys tomorrow for episode 345. But until then, make sure you guys get your daily discipline done, stay disciplined, and get your donations in as well for the St. Jude charity that we currently have going on for the 100-mile challenge for December. So thank you guys, and until tomorrow, peace out.